Okay. I got nervous for some reason looking at all of you sitting there. So I'm Cunoid. I'm an iOS developer by trade. Up until last Friday, I've been working full-time as an iOS developer. At some point in 2010, I pitched this idea about an iOS app, which basically you launch it, it figures out the city you're in, and it tells you stuff that you can buy nearby. I pitched it to this sort of hackathon events, startup events, you know, that you build a product throughout the weekend. And I got a team and I started building it. So this talk is really about this story and how much I learned while building this part-time, because I had a full-time job, as I said. So I was building it part-time after working hours, while trying to have a social life, while trying to have a, some personal life and all that. So it's not a story about how much you sacrifice, which is actually quite a lot. Because imagine, like, I would go home at 6 p.m. every day. I'd have something to eat. Maybe I'd hit the gym if I was in the mood. And then I would work on it for so many hours until I went to bed, which was like, I don't know, 1 a.m. And then I would wake up in the morning at 7 and then go to work. And this is something that I built in 3 years. So it took me 3 years from inception to actually shipping something. Even though in reality it was more like 6 months in real time of full-time work. It was 6 months over a period of 3 years. And that included a lot of burnouts as well. So this is a story about shipping and shipping digital goods and what it takes to ship software. Because as you realize, 3 years is a long time. Okay, 3 years is a damn long time to be building something. And yeah, imagine yourself, like picture yourself in a boat in the middle of the ocean doing this long journey and being like stuck for 3 years in this boat, right? It's madness, it's crazy. And at the same time, there is comfort about not thinking about shipping. Okay, it's because it's all fun and games. You just write code, do the things you like, reading up articles on the next big thing, rewriting the whole thing in AngularJS. Where's Rachel? And there's like excitement and there's all things going on, and you feel this comfort of you're in your comfort zone. You do the things you like, and you don't have to think about shipping. You don't have to think about these things, which is okay. Okay, there's nothing inherently bad about not thinking that you have to ship software. Okay, but the important thing is that you have to make up your mind. Okay, and you have to decide what it is that you're really doing. Okay, what is the reason for you for building this software? What will it come at the end? What is it about that you're doing it? And is it a side project or is it a business? Is it something you just take out every day after work and you take it out from your drawer and you put it on top of your desk and you start working on it and you feel happy? And depending on what it is, you should consider yourself either a martial artist or a skipper. Okay? And as a martial artist, what do? You focus on your craft. Okay? You focus on improving what it is that you do. You practice every day, you learn new skills, and you iterate. And there is fun in it, right? It's good. It gives you like a sense of progress, a sense of improvement. But if you're a skipper, you have to focus on shipping. And the other question you have to ask is whether this thing is a startup or not. And not every business needs to be a startup. Okay, I think there's a lot of hype that you can get caught in around starting a business. You hear all these stories about how overnight success and how businesses turn into multi-billion empires overnight and these large acquisitions. don't fall into that. It's not necessarily that you must build a startup. Okay, you can have a fine business with that software that you build, and you can just ship it at the end and have a lifestyle business. And outside of this fun and games, there is an ugly truth. Whether you like it or not, it's there. And the ugly truth says that what you're building is not the best thing. Okay? You might think it is your pet project, you work on it, as I said, every day, you put all your care, all your effort and all your energy into this, and you really love what you're doing, and you're doing it, with passion, but it's not necessarily the best thing. And not necessarily everyone will notice. Okay? People will not necessarily notice what you build. It's like this, idea that you walk into your room and everyone's standing around and is looking at you. No, they don't. They have other things to do. No one will use it. No one will use it. No one is interested in what you're building. Like, if you've spent, and the more time you spend on building this thing, and the more passion you put into it, and the more love you put into it, the more you think that others will care the same amount that you do. Okay, but it's not true. And you won't get any customers because someone else is already, they're paying someone else already. And you won't get any users necessarily. Okay, because there's a lot of apps out there. There's a lot of software out there that people actually use day to day. Stephen mentioned how he only uses 5 or 6 of the apps on his iPhone, and everything else is just occasional. And you want to get any contributors necessarily as well. If it's an open source library that you're building, and you think that you're gonna give this to the world for free, and everyone's going to be so excited about it, and they're going to immediately focus on what it is that you just put out in the world. And to go back to shipping, even if you do have an existing user base, you still have to ship. Okay. So even if you do have an existing user base, if you have customers, if you're still building it out for your customers, you need to ship. And there is risks involved in not shipping. First of all, you burn out. As I said, I was building this over a period of 3 years while trying to have a life. I had 3 burnouts. And by burnouts, I mean after a while, I was sick of it. Like, I just didn't want to work on it. I just didn't want to see it anymore. I was just sick. And I had like large periods of 6 months of not really even talking about it. Okay? And again, think of that example, being in the sea, being out in the open, for 3 years, like, you'll be sick. You lose your sanity in a way. Because as I said, you put all you invest all this time and your energy and your emotion. And after a while, you lose grip with reality, as I said. You lose perception of what is important and what it's not. And as I said, whether it's important on the next thing that you do, and whether people will care. And you start talking to people, and people don't really notice about what it is that you're building anymore after you've built it for a year. And obviously, then your morale drops because you've been building it for too long. Okay. And the other thing is, you don't necessarily get any validation depending on how you build this thing. Because, again, if it's just sitting in your computer, on your desk, and you've never talked to anyone about it, and you never showed it to anyone, do people want to use what it is that you're building? Does anyone want it? Why are you building it? And in the meantime as well, if you have competition as a business, everyone else is actually shipping when you're not shipping. So there is, the world keeps moving, around you. And the thing I've noticed is that the minute you stop moving, you stop making progress, the world seems like it's moving ridiculously fast. Ridiculously fast. And as I said, as you spend time and more time and energy on making very little progress, okay, because as I said, you focus on making this button the perfectly routed button, or you focus on making this slick UI, that no one will ever see. Competition is still shipping, as I said, and they're doing that. So focus on your shipping, focus on what's important. Because as I said, you're eventually too close to this thing. The more time you spend on it, you're too close. You're emotionally attached. So stop thinking about features. Stop thinking about doing the perfect rounded corners. You ain't gonna need it. Don't build one more feature. No one is gonna care. Not even the last one. No. And think of what is the minimum thing that you need to ship. Because when you think of shipping, it's more than just software, right? It's more than just writing code. If you're building, say, an iPhone app, the minute you put it up on the App Store, you have to think of screenshots. You have to think of a description that you're going to put. You have to think of having actually a web page that you need to point to people and a support page as required by Apple. You might have to think, going back to data, you might think about the data that you capture for your users and your customers. Like, you might need to think of a privacy policy. You might have to think of the terms of service. You might have to think about things like, what happens when my service shuts down? Where does the data go for my users? Like, you have to think of all these things, You might have to create release notes. You might have to send out a PR form or something, right? There's more to building software than just writing code. And I'm not even talking about managing risk and managing deadlines and doing the necessary things in order to make sure that you actually deliver something, okay? But at the end, you should think of shipping as a pleasure. It's that feeling that you get when you arrive at your destination, okay? When you get off the plane, after you flew like miles over the Atlantic, and you get off the plane and you finally touch ground and you go out and you grab, a beer, or you grab, this ice cream as you just landed in Mallorca or something. And it's a great feeling, It's a great feeling when you actually arrive somewhere and you land and you're there and you know that you've done the journey. So think of what you need in order to release. Set a date. And again, that's mostly a mindset than anything else. It's the minute I decided that I'm going to ship very large box, which is the thing I was building, it changed my perspective. All of a sudden, it became real almost. Like it got like the thing that, as I said, the thing that was only in my head and in my mind, all of a sudden became reality. Like I had to ship in 2 months. I had to do whatever it was to take it out there. And that meant thinking about all these things that I said before, thinking about how am I going to push this out there for real to my customers and to my users. The minute you set a date, and even I'd say before that, don't increase the workload. Don't add more work to yourself, okay? Because the more work you add, the more stuff you need to do. The more you fall back into this idea of just building something and comfortably sitting there. And you have to preserve your energy, and the main reason is because, as I said, the last mile is hard. You have to do more things that you imagine than writing code, and it's hard, and it's not pleasurable to be honest. You won't enjoy it. If you're just a coder, if you just write code, you're not going to enjoy it. Face it. So you need to preserve your energy as much as you can in order to get to that, to do that last mile and get it out. And as I said, you have real customers, paying or not real users. You have to think of things like privacy policies, terms of service, support, maintenance. What happens when someone wants to reach you? There is more than just writing code. And that not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean when you set a date and you sort of say, but I need that one more thing in order to make it, the way I have it in my head. It doesn't mean that you don't ship something that's whole or that's half-baked, sorry. It means that you ship something that's whole. It's still complete, okay? It's just not every little detail you've had in your head. So start thinking of shipping as a feature and stop building, okay? Stop building. Stop considering yourself as a builder, okay? And start shipping. And you need to understand also what it is that you're shipping as well. As I said, like, you need to have a shipping policy. You need to say, these are the things that I'm actually shipping. These are the things. Whether that's, it might be a simple app, like I don't know if people are familiar with what was it, the Yo app or something on iOS, which had a simple button that you would press and you send a Yo message somewhere. Like that was it. And it was, I think it got acquired or something, or it got some ridiculous amount of money, like just crazy shit like that. So, it's know what it is that you're shipping and go for it. And in order to do that, you have to think of your priorities, okay? What is it a priority? What is it that's important in order for me to ship? And if everything is a priority, obviously, nothing is a priority, okay? And you have to think of estimates, and you have to know, it's good to know how long the journey will last, because again, remember, think of, getting on board on, getting on a train somewhere, getting on a ship, getting on a plane, and no one really telling you how long this journey is going to last. Like every 5 minutes you'll be like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Like, so you need, again, it gives you a rough idea of how long this journey is going to last, and again, it helps you build energy, and prepares you mentally for what it is that's going to happen. And it's good to have milestones because they keep you going. Again, it's like, you hop on islands. Like it gives you time and space to breathe and look back and relax and, not really focusing on building all the time. You sort of like get out and you look around and you're like, okay, I'm here now. Where do I go next? What do I do? Where have I been? So it's good. It keeps you. It offloads from that mental process that you have to do, and it keeps you going because you look back and you see success. You see like you've built something, you've achieved something. Even again, if that thing is a minimum thing. And the other important thing is you need to be fast. You need to build up speed, because as I said, the more you're into this process, the more you pull back, and the more you drag yourself, and put more strain on you and what you need to build, the harder it gets, okay? Because you have all this weight on your shoulder and all these things that you carry that you have to offload in order to reach there. So it's important to be fast, okay? You need to build up speed. You need to be quick about things. So don't hold back on things. Don't be the bottleneck. You will have plenty of bottlenecks to deal with. Don't be your own bottleneck. Don't hold yourself back. And at the end of the day, shipping adds value. It's rewarding. Like you built something shiny, you gave it to the world. You've said, guys, here it is. Here's what I built. Check it out. It's interesting. So it is rewarding to actually build something that people will use and you ship it out there. It's not so much if you just keep it to yourself and you just keep building and building and building that no one sees ever. So on that basis that shipping adds value, create value. Build something that actually creates meaningful value, okay, and put it out there for people to use. And you have to understand that you're in the shipping business, okay, and you're in the business of shipping software. You're not in the business of just writing code, okay? You have to ship. So with that, I'd say stop shipping today, and that's it.
It sounds like you had a catalyst that turned you from somebody that was building software to shipping product. What was it? Am I right, first of all? Am I right with that?
So as I said, I pitched it in 2010, and I shipped in 2013. So that's like a year and a half ago. I'm not sure what happened, to be honest. I guess I woke up one day, looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, okay, Marcos, what is it that you're doing here? Like you have to decide. You have to be honest to yourself. Like you look yourself in the mirror and say, what is it that you do? Is it that you just enjoy this? Like you enjoy writing code? And I'm an engineer, right? I'm an engineer. I'm not. I like building things. Oh, shiny. I'll build this new thing. Or a new framework. Oh, I like that. But as I said, I just decided one day to be honest to myself and say, okay, what is it? If it's a business, and if you believe in that, then you have to invest money, for example. So in that way, I sort of challenged myself. You can say I challenged myself and I said, okay, is it a business? Yes. Okay, are you going to put money in it? I don't know. Well, are you going to put or not? Well, how much? I don't know. Will you put like £1,000 to get a designer? Okay, I'll put £1,000. And I sort of challenged myself, you can say, in a way to, you know, and I've asked these hard questions and I said, what is it that I'm doing here? You know, I was just honest with what I was doing. Yeah.
So you spent 3 years of not shipping. Once you started to ship, did you start to do that on a more regular basis?
To be honest, I haven't started a project since then. I was sick of it. So the funny thing is that after I shipped, I realized, so the effort tenfolded. So if, not only, you know, if this whole, you know, journey was hard for me to get there, to ship it, after I shipped, the effort tenfolded, and I was exhausted, as you can imagine, right? I was like drained out. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you know, I just shipped, I don't want to deal with anything else. I thought it was over, but it actually increased a lot. Because then I had to support, then I had to think of my users, I had to think of Heartbleed, I had to think of like, you know, security issues, I had to think of all these things, and I'm like, I haven't signed up for that. So I can't tell you that I've started shipping more often, but I'm definitely thinking about it a lot more, and I'm more cautious about it, whether I'm at work or whether now that I'm starting my own business this week. So I have this thing in a way you can say I'm leaving this talk to reinforce that to myself.
So you started in 2010 and then you released 100% of something in 2013. If you could turn back the clock, knowing what you know now, at what point would you have first shipped and what percentage of that thing would you have shipped?
I don't know. And I'll tell you why I don't know. It's hard for me to tell because I was doing it part-time and it was quite an undertaking. Like I can show you the app later, I can talk to you about it, but it was quite an undertaking at the time. And not because it was necessarily true, but because I made it an undertaking. So it's hard for me. I guess I could, you know, in hindsight, I could go back and say, well, I would only build like one feature, not 10. I would only, you know, I would push it first out there to my customers and sort of complete the cycle, whatever the cycle is, which is, as I said, produce release notes, create screenshots, create a description, and put it out there so I don't have to deal with that at a later stage, 3 years later, and so like my mind is full. So there are ways to manage it. I mean, again, it depends on what it is that you're building. I guess that's a personal question. I don't think I can give you an answer as to what it is that keeps you going. Like for me, you know, one thing that kept me going is I didn't want to fail. You know, it was sort of a, you can say, pride, or it was sort of a way, you know, to prove to myself that I can do it. I think, yeah, it's a personal thing. You know, in the same way that you know, you get so bitten up in life, and life gives you very hard punches. Like you have to find your inner strength somehow, you know, and sort of pull yourself up and keep going. And you have friends to keep you going. Like I had a lot of people, whether they were friends or family or the community actually. People like you that kept me going. You know, they would come to me like, no, you know, show me what you got. You know, I'll come here next week and I'll see what you've done. You know, and I'll check on you. So there were people that would help me and help me greatly, and I wouldn't have been able to deliver that. You know, but so it's a personal thing, and there is some general thing as well. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop it there. But
one last question. One last question.
If you keep the answer short.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, as a shipper now, what would you say to your builder self at the beginning of the project to advise to do something differently that might be of assistance to potential engineers in the room thinking about what they could build or where they might take their idea that they're working on at the moment?
So again, as I said, to sum up, you can think what it is that you're doing, whether you're just doing to improve your craft or whether you want to start a business. If you're starting a business, then think whether it's a startup or not, and then just think what it is that you're adding as a value. You know, because I'm assuming you want your business to last, and you want it to be sustainable. You don't just want to go build a business that's going to go bust the next week. So think what value you're adding to the world, and why people want to use your product, and that's it. I'll be at the pub, so you can come down there.
So with that, thank you, Martha.